All right, so today we're diving into something pretty cool. It's this self-marketing workshop curriculum, and it's all about helping people land jobs,
Yeah.
but it's got a really interesting spin to it.
Hmm.
Like, it goes way beyond just, like, sprucing up your resume.
Oh, interesting.
It's really all about how to, like, showcase your strengths in a way that really grabs attention.
I like that. So it's about more than just skills. It's about presentation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really cool is how it starts off.
Uh-huh.
It asks you to, like, think about your top 3 strengths.
Okay.
Really nail those down. And then it gets into this whole idea of, like, crafting a winning sentence.
A winning sentence.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that before?
I haven't actually. Tell me more.
Okay, so basically imagine this. It's like, instead of just listing out your skills on a resume,
Mm-hmm.
you come up with this, like, one powerful statement
Ooh.
that kind of sums up, like, what you bring to the table.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. So the material actually gives you some examples like, I'm a highly motivated problem solver who thrives in fast-paced environments.
I see.
Or like, I'm a creative thinker with a knack for building strong relationships.
Okay, so they're giving you a framework, but you still have to personalize it.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what I find really interesting is they don't just throw these examples at you. They actually encourage you to, like, dissect them.
Really?
Like, why do these sentences work?
Yeah.
So they talk about how using, like, active verbs, like, instead of saying I am good at, you say I thrive in or I excel at.
So it's about the energy the words convey.
Exactly. It makes it way more dynamic, right?
Yeah. Instead of just stating facts, you're painting a picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they also talk about how it's important to focus on outcomes, like what you've actually achieved,
Yeah.
rather than just listing tasks.
I see. So it's about showing, not just telling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of just saying I managed a team, you say I led a team to exceed sales targets by 15%,
Oh, that's much more impactful.
right? It shows that you're not just about doing the job, but you're about getting results.
Right. And it gives concrete evidence of your capabilities.
It's like they're teaching you to be your own best hype person,
I love that.
but in a way that's not like bragging, It's like strategic self-promotion.
Yeah, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Totally. So it's about striking that balance,
Yeah.
right?
So for our listeners, what would your winning sentence be?
Yeah, I'm curious too. Like, if you had to sum up your strengths in one impactful sentence, what would it be?
Take a moment and think about it. What are your top 3 strengths?
And how could you weave them into a statement that really makes you stand out?
Yeah, think about what makes you unique. What's your special sauce?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, finding that one-liner that captures your essence.
And makes people want to know more.
Exactly. So let's take a minute to brainstorm that.
All right.
All right. Let's move on to the next part of the workshop where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I am intrigued. Let's dive in. Okay, so you know how we were just talking about like figuring out your strengths and crafting that winning sentence?
Right, right.
Well, the workshop actually like takes a really interesting turn after that.
Oh, really? What do you mean?
Well, it kind of shifts from, like that inward focus on yourself to thinking about the employer's perspective.
Like putting ourselves in their shoes.
Exactly. It's all about understanding like what they're looking for.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But, like, how do we actually do that?
Well, the workshop encourages you to like really research the company and the role you're applying for.
Okay, so, like, digging deep into the job description and stuff.
Yeah, and like checking out the company's website, reading up on their values.
Oh, and then looking at industry news and trends, too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about getting the bigger picture.
Okay. But, like, let's be real. Sometimes those job descriptions can be super long and confusing.
Oh, yeah, totally. And that's where the workshop gets super helpful.
How
It
clear.
gives you these like frameworks for analyzing job descriptions. Frameworks?
Yeah, like ways to break it down and figure out what the employer actually cares about most.
Ooh, that sounds useful.
Yeah. So they talk about, like, looking for keywords,
Keywords.
Yeah. Like phrases like results-oriented or team player or strong communication skills.
Oh, so like the buzzwords that basically signal what they're looking for.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And once you identify those keywords, you can, like, tailor your resume and cover letter.
Oh, I get it. So you make sure you're highlighting the skills that match what they're asking for.
Right. And you can even, like, sprinkle those keywords into your winning sentence.
Oh, that's smart. So it's
It
all about like strategically aligning yourself with their needs.
Exactly. And it shows that you've, like, actually taken the time to understand what the job is all about.
Right. It's not just a generic application. You've actually put some thought into it.
Yeah. It shows you're serious about the opportunity.
This is making me think about something I always struggle with,
What's that?
Like, how do you balance being authentic to yourself.
with like tailoring your message to what the employer wants to hear.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Because I don't want to feel like I'm putting on a fake persona.
Right. You don't want to be inauthentic.
Exactly.
Well, the workshop actually addresses that directly.
Really?
Yeah, they emphasize that, like, tailoring your message doesn't mean being someone you're not.
So it's not about being fake. It's about being strategic.
Precisely. It's about highlighting the parts of your personality and experience that genuinely fit the role.
Okay. So it's like finding that sweet spot between being true to yourself and also being aware of what they're looking for.
Exactly. And it's important to consider company culture, too.
Oh, yeah. Like if it's a super traditional company, you might want to emphasize different skills than if it's a hip startup.
Right. So it's about understanding the environment you're stepping into.
This is starting to feel like a bit of a mind game.
Yeah, in a way. But it's a game you can win.
And it makes sense. You know, if you want to stand out, you got to play smart.
Yeah, it's about being strategic and showcasing your best self.
All right, I'm starting to get this. So we've talked about like figuring out your strengths and crafting a winning sentence, and then like understanding the employer's perspective and tailoring your message.
Right.
But the workshop doesn't stop there, does it?
It actually gets even more interesting.
Okay, I'm ready. What's next?
Well, the next part is all about body language.
Ooh, now we're talking. This is something I'm really curious about.
Me too. It's amazing how much body language can impact how people perceive you.
Yeah, like you can say all the right things,
Uh-huh.
but if your body language is off, it can totally undermine your message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the workshop dedicates a whole section to this.
Okay, so what are some of the key takeaways?
Well, they break it down into like 4 main elements.
Okay, hit me with them.
Okay, so the workshop breaks it down into eye contact, posture, tone of voice, and hand gestures.
So basically everything we do, even when we're not saying anything?
Yeah, pretty much. It's all about those nonverbal cues, you know.
Oh, man. I get so nervous at interviews. It's like my body language just goes out the window.
I know it can be tough, but the good thing is that with a little bit of awareness, you can actually use body language to your advantage.
Okay, so let's break it down then. What about eye contact? Like, I know I should make eye contact, but how much is too much?
Yeah, that's a good question. The workshop talks about finding a natural balance. You know,
Okay.
like you want to make eye contact to show that you're engaged and listening,
Hmm.
but you don't want to stare intensely because that can be kind of creepy.
Oh, yeah, totally. I've definitely been on the receiving end of that, and it's super uncomfortable.
Yeah, so it's all about finding that sweet spot.
Okay. What about posture?
Hmm.
Like, I tend to slouch sometimes, especially when I'm nervous.
Yeah. Posture is super important. It conveys a lot about your confidence and presence. The workshop recommends like sitting upright but not stiff, you know?
Okay.
Like shoulders relaxed but spine straight.
So, like, imagine you're a puppet with a string attached to the top of your head.
Exactly. It's about projecting an image of composure and self-assurance.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
What about tone of voice? Like, I know I talk really fast when I'm nervous.
Yeah, I do that too. The
Yeah.
workshop talks about speaking clearly and at a moderate pace
Okay.
and using variations in your tone to keep the listener engaged.
Oh, right, because like a monotone voice could be super boring.
Exactly. It's like listening to a podcast where the host has no energy.
Oh, I would totally tune out.
Right. So it's about bringing some life into your voice, you know.
Like showing that you're actually passionate about what you're talking about.
Exactly. Enthusiasm is contagious.
All right, so we've got eye contact, posture, tone of voice. What's left-hand gestures?
Yes. Hand gestures can be great for emphasizing your points.
Mhm.
But again, it's all about moderation. Like
Right.
you don't want to be flailing your arms around all crazy.
Right, that would be distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the workshop talks about using hand gestures purposefully, you know?
Yeah.
Like to illustrate your ideas or convey emotion, but not overdoing it.
So, like, don't be a robot, but don't be a windmill either.
Exactly. Find that happy medium.
Okay, so after all of this, like, what's the final takeaway from the workshop?
Well, it all culminates in creating this personal self-marketing profile.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a roadmap for your job search.
Exactly. It brings together everything we've talked about, you know?
Like your winning sentence, your tailored approach, your nonverbal communication skills.
Yeah. And it also encourages you to think about your long-term career goals.
Well, that's cool. So it's not just about getting any job. It's about finding a fulfilling career path.
Right. And it emphasizes that self-marketing is an ongoing process.
Like it's not just a one-time thing. You got to keep refining your approach.
Exactly. And it's not just about job searching either.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, these principles can apply to any situation where you're trying to make a good impression.
Oh, I see. Like networking or giving presentations or even just in everyday conversations.
Yeah, it's all about presenting your best self to the world.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we've learned so much today from this workshop curriculum.
Me too. It's been a great deep dive.
For our listeners out there, I hope you found this insightful and inspiring.
Remember, self-marketing is not about being someone you're not.
It's about showcasing your strengths and confidently sharing your unique talents with the world.
Exactly.
Go out there and shine.